because a movie or movie series is bad doesn't mean there can't be some good things about it. Sit back and enjoy the top 11 actual good moments from the Star Wars prequels.
Oh.
That kick-ass sword fight. The fighting in these movies definitely got a lot better when the prequels got started. Even the most intense moments in the original trilogy mostly kept to just two people tapping swords. But the storyline and characters still kept us interested. Well, since there was shit storyline and characters in the first film, they at least made up for it with a pretty cool sword fight. Instead of two people, it's three, and instead of just tapping swords, they're flipping, kicking, jumping, and even introduced that Donatello saber. Yeah, I know, I'm sure it's called something else, but I call it the Donatello saber.
Three guys we know nothing about fighting each other in a scene we have no interest in. Their flawless choreography lacks all humanity and emotion. But then something happens. Qui-Gon dies, and Obi-Wan is pissed. Hey, maybe this'll finally get good. Maybe I'll get emotionally involved. You see, Obi-Wan is pumped. He really wants to kick this guy's ass. And then, BAM! Oh, it's right back to highly choreographed fighting. It's like all this was planned out ahead of time. Hey, remember when Luke Skywalker got really pissed and snapped when Vader was taunting him? Remember how worked up and emotional he got? He just started wailing on Vader. There was no grace or complex choreography. He was just pounding him into submission, filled with rage. When you're worked up with emotion, you begin to lose your composure and control. You expose your humanity a little. Obi-Wan should have done that just a bit.
All of this is much better in contrast to the first film.
I gotta really stress this point that lightsaber duels have less to do with the fight itself, but more so with the internalization of the characters. So if you've ever said that the duel at the end of A New Hope was the worst one because it had bad fight choreography, well then I'm afraid you've missed the point entirely. It's really about moments like this. Not this.
Hey, Obi-Wan, remember when we fought in that volcano through a pool of lava and death, surfing on tiny little machines and doing flips and kicks everywhere?
Yup, sure do.
We got so old.
Preach.
This duel didn't need to be 45 minutes long. The ultimate point of everything was that Obi-Wan defeats Anakin. The whole thing ends up going on so long that it actually becomes boring, despite the amazing visual effects. The ultimate irony is that this fight between the same characters years later is much more interesting than this one.
If you couldn't get into the story, at least you could get into the action.
Enough with the f***ing lightsabers. I stand by my statement that people that like these films are either drooling idiots that just like lightsabers or tiny babies.
Less Jar Jar as the films went on. Yeah, I know this kinda shouldn't count, seeing how making up for a mistake still technically means it's a mistake, but think about how much Lucas doesn't like to go back on an alteration he's already made. So, it's welcoming that after one movie he decided to cut down Jar Jar, arguably a characterized version of syphilis, to a much smaller role.
Ironically, the most major positives about this film are the things that are not in the film. Almost no Jar Jar Binks. After 3 films, Lucas finally got it. We only see this loathsome cunt for but a brief moment or two.
For someone who is banking so much on his humor to win over America, gotta give credit when a guy finally realizes a mistake and tries to fix it.
But even though his role as a funny thing for babies is no longer useful, he's still walking around the Senate doing something. Why isn't he working as a janitor somewhere? Lucas just put him in there as a big fuck you to the audience for not accepting him.
Jar Jar is a key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had in any of the movies before.
It's good to show contempt for your audience. Just ask Michael Bay.
Yoda kicking ass. On the one hand, I really didn't want to see this, as I always saw Yoda as that guy who had so much power he could move a starship with his finger. I don't know, I just got the feeling a guy like that could blink and you could probably blow up or something. But, I gotta be honest, seeing somebody that small move like this is both hilarious and kind of awesome.
My problem with this is that Yoda has a handicap based on his physical limitations, when his character should be above that sort of thing.
It's nice how in the last film we do see him moving big objects around as well as just swinging around the sword. So he's kind of using all his abilities to his effect.
So in this scene, he flips around the cave and bounces off the walls because he's so small that he can't reach Doku.
Which of course asks the question, why does he need that cane if he's so fit? Why couldn't he just use his powers to give his enemies a heart attack? I know, tons and tons of things that don't add up, but still, if it means watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Muppet, I don't give a shit. I love watching it, and some great action.
You see, Yoda was so magical and interesting because you didn't expect this little tiny creature to be a Jedi Master.
Jedi Master?
We all had a preconception that a great warrior would be someone physically strong and intimidating.
I'm looking for a great warrior.
By making Yoda a little guy, they were illustrating that the Force is something beyond the physical. But by showing Yoda fight with the lightsaber, it ruins all that because it takes that concept and those rules and throws it in the dumpster. Right next to Bambi.
This scene.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
There's nothing else to say, I just think it's funny. For a series so devoid of good humor, this actually makes a lot of people laugh in the audience.
Oh hey, what's up? Listen, I can't really talk right now. I'm right in the middle of doing my new Star Wars review. We could talk— Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
Anakin and Padme's reaction to being pregnant. This might be a strange scene to focus on, but I actually think it's done quite effectively. Jedi are forbidden to fall in love, get married, and have kids.
Why aren't the Jedis allowed to love? But it's never really explained. Does anyone get like a creepy vibe from these movies? But we can't relate to their fucking weird, sterile, sexless universe.
You're trembling.
Something wonderful has happened. Annie, I'm pregnant.
With very few lines, they managed to run the gamut of shock, fear, happiness, and then back to fear again.
We are forced to endure the most bizarre, loveless, awkward, and forced romance in cinematic history.
We're not going to worry about anything right now. All right? This is a happy moment. The happiest moment of my life.
Maybe it's because so many other scenes are devoid of natural human reaction, but I think this shows two thinking people who know this is both a huge joy and a big problem.
This is what they call filler. And it's nowhere near as good as the kind they put in Twinkies. I like to fuck my cat.
Casting Hayden Christensen as Anakin.
What?
Hear me out. I'm not gonna act like this is a good performance. It's not. It's bland, it's emotionless, every line is completely monotone, but to this guy's credit, nobody gives a good performance in this movie.
The biggest problem with Revenge of the Sith and all the Star Wars prequels in general was ironically Darth Vader himself. And look, it's got nothing to do with Hayden Christensen. He did a fine job with the material given to him. He's not a bad actor, kids, leave him alone. Even Sir Lawrence Oliver couldn't read these shitty lines.
Even the acting in the first Star Wars film, people forget, wasn't always the best.
I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
No, more kind of British. So no, I don't think it's fair to put all the blame on this guy. I think he does have a fair amount of talent, just not enough to survive crummy direction. But honestly, very few actors do. When he's allowed to shoot a stare without any bad writing to get in the way, tell me you don't see the origins of one of the galaxy's most threatening baddies.
Vader was just so central to this story and all the events of this universe. In A New Hope, he was just a weirdo in a suit. He was a part of a bigger story. He was a carryover from an older era, I guess. But to me, he just seemed like one of the bad guys that carried out the business of the Empire. He was not Space Jesus. Jesus, I'm so sorry you had to be in this review. Please forgive me, Lord. I know you hated the movie you told me.
The intro to Revenge of the Sith.
No, it's just a bunch of crap all over the screen made by computer animators that wish they chose other careers. Like working in a toll booth. Some kind of uncut special effects shot involving models and precise timing and actual camera work would have been impressive. But this shit ain't no Rube Goldberg machine. Or it ain't no fucking Goodfellas shot, that's for sure. So what? There's a few minutes of a CGI battle sequence some guy renders on his computer. But whole movies are made entirely with computers now, even without any actors whatsoever. Movies like Toy Story and Transformers. An edit here or there doesn't matter. So if you were impressed by that, then you've been punked.
You got the space battle.
I have no idea who's attacking what or what ships belong to who, and I'm not even gonna try to figure it out.
You got the sword fights, you got the lasers firing.
They also make waste of battle droids with such efficiency that it's both totally pointless and boring.
You got the big diabolical villain.
Then we're introduced to something that I guess is a reptile inside a robot costume wearing a cape. I don't even know who General Grievous is because no one told me yet. I'm gonna assume he's important because he's a general, and apparently he's got some kind of grievance with somebody. I don't know. But also aboard the ship is Commander Nefarious, Captain I'm a Bad Guy, and Admiral Bone to Pick. But they don't mention them. Now, is General Grievous supposed to be funny? Because they said he was a villain, right? Not a comedian? Like Larry Seinfeld, but more like a creepy weirdo like Jerry Flint. I'm so confused.
This was the first time I felt like I was actually watching a new Star Wars film. It had the energy, it had the imagination, it even had some of the comedy of the original.
Revenge of the Sith, what appears to be a general space adventure film, is punctuated by a brutal decapitation mixed with bizarre attempts at slapstick humor. Then I don't know what the hell the tone is supposed to be here. If it's supposed to be funny or exciting or scary, I can't feel anything.
But I'd much rather have something closer to the original than nothing hitting the mark at all.
I mean, I'd rather see episode 3 than blood in my urine.
For me, I think this intro was a damn fun ride.
Yeah, I bet you do, asshole.
Fuck you!
Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. As much as I talk about how bland most of these actors are, the one who seems to be perfectly cast and even managed to make a lot of the dialogue less painful is Ewan McGregor.
Before the movie opened, I was really excited to hear that Scottish actor Ewan MacDonald was going to be playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought that was a great choice, and he'd be perfect as the lead of this movie. But he wasn't really. He just sat on the ship and complained a lot.
The Queen's wardrobe, maybe, but not enough for you to barter with.
Not only does he surprisingly command a lot of authority, but he also has an energy that carries over from a young youth to an aging warrior.
But at the same time, he's also very distant, because he's like a weird monk without any personality.
What?
He captures the calm and collected nature of Alec Guinness, but still has the outlook of a young man who's learning.
Obi-Wan Kenobi is a stupid, dumb asshole too. I already mentioned how he says stupid things in the beginning, but then he rides around on some kind of dinosaur for some reason, and now all of a sudden he enjoys showing off in this movie.
Hello there.
Sure, he still got a lot of lame lines to say, but if someone was to ask me what I thought this guy in his youth would be like, this would be right on the money.
So uncivilized.
No, decapitating people is uncivilized. And I'm also sorry that you're so stupid that you failed to see the obvious tactical advantages of a projectile weapon when it just saved your retarded ass. The only good thing about the film that's in the film is
the Emperor.
No.
Okay, taking out some of his goofier moments near the end, the Emperor was the only thing in all the movies that everybody looked forward to. He had the dark, menacing robe that would become famous in the other movies, but he also played a great diplomat, a great charmer, a great deceiver, and a great manipulator.
While his character was essentially ruined by being in such horrible schlock, and actually doing some pretty dumb stuff himself, the Emperor is just so wonderful anyways that it doesn't matter. Whether he's just filled with pure hate, or he's doing manipulative things to less smart people, or he's just being plain old silly. The man seems to find such joy in being pure evil. You gotta respect that.
Ian McDiarmid returns in this role, and you can tell he's having a friggin' ball with it. He runs the gamut from being incredibly subtle and sneaky, to being full-blown, over-the-top psychotic.
Are you going to kill me?
I would certainly like to.
I know you would.
He even seems to get off a little in his pantaloons on how much hate he could feel in Anakin. I guess I really like Palpatine so much because he's the only character with any kind of passion. He's fucking evil and he loves it. And he's got a goal he's working towards obtaining.
Once more, the Sith will rule the galaxy.
Even in scenes where he's going a little too silly, he's still so much fun to watch. He's like the Tim Curry of the Star Wars universe. You can see that whatever part he's doing, he's just going in full force. And yeah, seeing an old man do this kind of sword fighting is pretty damn ridiculous.
The Emperor didn't speak highly about lightsabers.
His lightsaber.
Yes. To him they were like toys. And then the Emperor calls it a Jedi weapon.
Take your Jedi weapon.
But for some reason now the Emperor has one so that we can have another lightsaber fight.
Every time he was on screen, he stole the show. Even at his silliest, the Emperor in the prequels is by far the best character.
Nice job, everyone. No one cares.
The different worlds.
The new movies are about shoving as much crap into each shot as possible.
It's so dense, every single image has so many things going on.
One of the disadvantages the original Star Wars had is that while it had a decent budget, it was never so big that you could show off in great detail how gigantic your worlds could be.
This is part of the reason why I find the special editions so fucking offensive. Because you're into what's happening in the movie, and they keep shoving more shit on the screen to distract you. It reminds me of a child waving his arms in the background for attention. Doesn't Lucas realize that cluttering the frame up with shit is not what makes Star Wars good?
With the prequels though, you can show vast landscapes, entire cities, incredible backdrops.
This simple moment between two characters had 1,000,000 times more depth and realism than even the biggest fake waterfalls your computer could make. The irony in Star Wars is that even though we see the most vast and open scenery generated by a computer, I just know that the actors are being filmed in a smaller space and restricted. It just doesn't feel right, and it shatters my suspension of disbelief constantly because it doesn't look real. Like when Obi-Wan confronts Grievous. I'm gonna guess they just had Ewan McDonald standing there looking into green nothingness, and someone was telling him that Grievous was right there. Well, like, the thing is, he lights up all of his swords and does kind of this, like, karate show-off stance thing. But it happens quickly, right in front of Obi-Wan's face. Grievous could have just lunged right at him super fast and cut him up into, like, 20 pieces. He doesn't even flinch or react to this. He just stands there, probably because Ewan had no idea what he was supposed to be looking at that particular second. This kind of stuff stands out to me, and it takes me out of the movie, because it looks fake. You know what else takes me out of the movie? My spastic colon.
We can go from a solid still of Cloud City to circling buildings while flying through other ships.
You know, I could spend 10 hours talking about just how incredibly dumb this entire sequence is. The movie creates a dazzling environment of dangerous heights, nauseating speeds, and millions of things you can crash into. Then it totally ruins all of this by turning the rules of reality into a cartoony farce, thus dissolving all the tension away. All these crazy visuals and effects, and it's no more exciting than if they just chased her on foot.
It's so dense, every single image has so many things going on.
Shut up! There's only one thing that's dense here, and it ain't the frame.
Now, do I think there's too much CG and not enough hand-built sets? Of course I do, just like everybody does. And yeah, I think 1 and 2 environments are painfully lazy. Can you say Saltine Cracker Man? But for the most part, we're allowed to really see a planet from multiple different angles and several different locations. Rather than just finding a desert and saying, oh, the whole planet looks like this.
Here it can cause creativity overload. Look, I know shooting on location is a horrible pain in the ass and can get expensive. And I got respect for Lucas for the shit he went through making the original Star Wars film. But really, the notion that bigger and more epic equals more emotion for some reason is just a fallacy.
It's so dense, every single image has so many things going on.
With this sequence, it took 58,000 people to make. 917,000 man-hours and 243 million hours of computer animation. They weren't working on some complicated construction project. It was just a scene in a movie where two guys fight. They could have gone up to the side of some volcano somewhere and filmed them fighting there. Have a guy there with the smoke machine, in a wide shot add in a map painting background or a computer background, Have a guy pouring fake lava down the rocks when they're fighting, and have the scene be 5 minutes. The point is, Anakin loses.
Yes, it'd be better if the people in the world gave him more of a personality like in the original, but you still gotta give credit to the fact that a lot of these places look pretty damn awesome.
We'll begin with the spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
The Opera House scene from Revenge of the Sith. Not only is this scene beautifully shot, not only is it dripping with atmosphere, not only is it well acted, not only is it well written, but this is the first time in the prequels something is given to the Star Wars mythos to make it more of a mythos.
The Dark Lord of the Sith.
And we're like, why does this guy know so much about the Sith? It's like being in a casual conversation with someone that you've known, and then they start talking about how they're currently reading Mein Kampf. You might just raise an eyebrow and be like, wait, what did you just say about Mein Kampf? But instead, the fact that this guy starts talking about the Sith and the legend of Darth Plagueis or whatever, Anakin is just sitting there like a retard. Oh, can I still say retard? Anakin is just sitting there like an exceptional individual. Then he talks about a magic trick to save people from dying.
He could actually save people from death.
I will even learn to stop people from dying.
Wow, that's pretty convenient timing, Anakin.
But the original Star Wars, while many would agree is still a strong mythos, mostly stuck to its own story. This is more mythical, one that has its roots in legend and may or may not have happened.
So then George Lucas completely and utterly finally ruined Star Wars forever by having Qui-Gon explain that the Force is microscopic organisms.
Midi-chlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
He could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life.
It's even kind of implied that Palpatine made Anakin by using his Sith power?
They're of course hinting that the Emperor had a big part in this story, but if he did, he's lying about the identities. Which means the story is already changing from person to person, but still keeping the same spirit, as well as the same focus.
Then Anakin is forced to make a decision. Help Samuel L. Jackson in a robe, or help this weird guy with the weird monster face who just told you a very vague story about how he once knew a guy who knew how to save someone from dying or something. Well, the choice is clear. So long, Samuel. I hope you burn in hell.
To cheat death is a power only one has achieved. But if we work together, I know we can discover the secret.
Wait. You never said it was a secret. Oh, I've been tricked. Holy shit, what have I done? I just killed Samuel L. Jackson for this shit. Who's gonna play Nick Fury in the Avengers movie?
It added a story within a story, and that's one of the biggest steps to making a world you want to feel more real be all the more believable. It's the first time the Star Wars prequels actually evolved the story to a better place than where the original Star Wars films started out.
So, what else did I like? I guess I liked it when Anakin got burned. I liked it when it was over.
So like I said, we all know the problems and we all make fun of them mercilessly. But when something strong stands out, it's still worthy to draw attention to it and acknowledge what was closer to the right direction. At the very least, I hope one of the most...
Email me if you want a pizza roll. Post a comment on this web zone if you want a
Shut up! Shut up! Every second you speak is killing something I used to love inside of me. Will you please just shut up? God!
What is wrong with your face?